Ashworms, and welcome to the Ashworm channel. Before I get into anything else, please like, subscribe, turn on the bell notifications, and click all. Thank you very much. My mother told me never to play with fire. I wish someone would have said that before the factory burned down. Let me explain to you what happened that day. It was a normal day at the Swimm Goggle Factory, or at least I thought it was. As I was heading over to my workstation, I noticed that there was a box of matches laying down near, as I could see it through the corner of my eye, laying down on one of the workbenches. As I got over to my station, I mentioned it to my friend Tina, who worked next to me. She giggled a little before answering me. One of the employees went to use some matches to heat up the boiler in the boiler room. I thought that it was a bit strange since most of the new employees have only been working there for only 6 months, but I shrugged it off as I thought that they might have already done it before and knew what they were doing. I then got straight to work. Tina and I worked at the conveyor belt where we packaged up the goggles to be put on the truck. 5 minutes had passed by now, and the new employee comes back up from the boiler room looking for the matchboxes, as they have realized that they have left them up here and they needed a rough surface to start the fire on. I heard them looking, so I turned around and pointed to the workbench that I saw them on earlier, and then turned back around to continue working. When they went over to the workbenches, they couldn't find it. Another employee helped them look around for it, but they couldn't find it either. Luckily, somebody found it. However, oddly enough, it was found in the restrooms. I'm just glad that no one had taken it and done something bad with it, or something that they weren't supposed to, at least to what I know of. Once the newbie received the package of matches back, they were relieved that no one had stolen it. They then went back down to the boiler room. Afterwards, I was called over to try on a new model of swim goggles. I asked Tina if she could handle packaging the rest by herself. Once she reassured me that she was alright on her own and gave me the right away, I went over to the other side where the testers were. Once I got there, someone handed me swim goggles that looked like a pair of goggles that you would find in a science lab, and a pair of scuba goggles. The goggles were clear at the front and had a white strap that you could adjust if necessary, though they just wanted to test if everything was working properly and that they could fit. They grabbed me and a couple other workers to try them out. As I was in the middle of trying on the goggles, Tina shouted at me that it was time for lunch. I left with my friend. We drove to her house, which was a long way since the factory was, or seemed to be, in the middle of nowhere, as there weren't any buildings nearby and was surrounded by wildlife. It was until we were an hour away from the factory that I realized that the goggles were still on my head. We quickly turned around and head back to the factory just to find out that it had caught on fire. Luckily, no one was killed or died. There was some that were sadly burned or rushed to the hospital due to the fact that they might have broken bones. But besides that, everyone seemed to be all right. We got out of the car and took a closer look. It turns out that after the new employee set wood to fire to heat the boiler, the matchbox got caught in between the door and which led for everything else around it to catch on fire as well. We all stood there and watched as the paramedics, along with the fire department, came, and that is how I ended up in the middle of nowhere wearing swim goggles. And that is it. So from that prompt, now I'm going to tell you kind of what was the prompts that I had to do. So the prompt was, you come across a pack of matches that sets off a series of uncanny events. Start with my mother always told me not to play with fire, and end it with, and that is how I ended up in the middle of nowhere wearing swim goggles. So that's kind of that is actually what was the writing prompt, and kind of what I thought was like how factories tend to be in the middle of nowhere, and if like an accident, like a fire, setting on a building on fire would really make it like nowhere, since all you would be is like left would be just trees and everything. And I thought for the swim goggles, and I googled how they were made in factories, and so I used that to kind of help create my story. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on the bell notifications. And if you enjoyed, or at least after watching this, I hope that you go and check out my other videos. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Anyways, until next time, bye!